Welcome to today's FICO Friday. Today is March 22nd. Man, it feel like it was just January 1st. This year is flying by. We're getting ready to go into the second quarter of the year. I want to say what's up to the J. Morrison Academy page, Mr. Will Roundtree page. Make sure you guys are liking each other's pages. I need everybody on JMA page. Go and like Mr. Will Roundtree. I need everybody on Mr. Will Roundtree. Go like J. Morrison Academy page as well. So for those who do not know me, if this is your first time on FICO Friday, definitely want to welcome you. My name is Will Roundtree, president and owner of We Management Services, president and co-founder of Easy Funding, where we help small and medium-sized businesses get access to up to $250,000. This month, we actually helped a couple people get over that, so it's definitely possible. Also, credit mastery instructor, for the J. Morrison Academy, TED Talk speaker. Somebody said I need to start letting people know. I did a TED Talk talking about the power of failure. I am the author of the book, Credit is King. Make sure you go out and pick up this copy. I tell everybody, this is just like a prerequisite to learning, the basic bare minimums about credit. How to maintain it, how to repair it, how to restore it. It even has sample letters in here. It talks about how to deal with collection agencies. I know I've literally had clients said they get anxiety dealing with collection agencies. So, I have an entire chapter dealing with collection agencies. And then, of course, business partner to King J. Morrison, business partner to King Paul Thornton, and just, all around entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurship. I'm a real estate investor, real estate investing coach. And then also, I also want to shout out my wife's book, Note to Self. You can go and pick up a copy at ggroundtree.com. I always tell people it's really just a book about affirmations. All of us entrepreneurs, we all know the power of affirmations, or even just sometimes dealing with the life. We can get down, or something puts us in a bad mood, and it's nothing more powerful than to be able to read affirmations to get us back in that mood and space. So make sure you go out and pick up a copy. And anyone who does get a copy over the weekend, I will send you a signed copy of Credit is King, completely free, or as we say, free 99 for anyone who does get a copy of the book Note to Self. Just send us a copy of your receipt, and I'll go ahead and make sure you get a copy of Credit is King. So today's FICO Friday topic is, basically how to put your easy fund into use in relations to real estate. I get so many people that reach out and ask, hey, I'm trying to do real estate. How do I do real estate? How do I purchase real estate with my credit lines and this, that, and the third? And like I tell everybody, we've shown so many people how to purchase real estate without having to use a dime of their own capital, of their own personal money. I mean, last year, between the efforts of, our team over at the J. Morrison Academy, myself and my partner, Paul, with our one-on-one coaching clients in 2018, we've helped curate over $15 million in real estate portfolio income. And that's, of everything assessed in the value of all of the real estate that we've helped our coaching clients get access to in the year of 2018. And so we're extremely excited about, how we're helping change lives. I mean, we're literally changing, family trees, and more importantly, just showing people that it can be done. Just think about it. We can literally help someone start from ground zero, meaning no money whatsoever. They just you gotta have ambition though. And see, the thing, a lot of times people assume that money is going to change and solve all their problems. I'm here to tell you, money doesn't solve your problems. Because if it was that simple, then everybody would go out and get money. See, you still got to be ambitious. You got to be driven. You got to be hungry. And those are intangible qualities that a lot of us sometimes don't possess, maybe due to our circumstances or living in a negative household, or as some may say, you sleeping with the enemy, meaning, you got a negative person that's your spouse. But nevertheless, understandable that it's so just, man, I can't even think of the word to describe it, but just life changing of how this information is so transformational to where somebody can start from ground zero. We help them fix their credit. Again, this is why you got to learn the RBCs, real estate business credit. We help them fix their credit. We're teaching them business principles. And the thing I always tell people about business principles is they're parallel. So everything you learn in business, you can go and start a restaurant, a barber shop, an accounting firm, a law firm, whatever it is, real estate. Learn the business principles and then go into real estate, because it's all about strategies. And that's the thing that we lack most of the time. See, having access to a bunch of money does nothing. I mean, we've all seen the stories of the athletes and the lottery winners who get access to tens of millions of dollars and still end up broke. That's because they don't have the proper strategies. And all we're trying to do is, one, inspire you, and then two, give you the strategies that you need to go out there and literally be able to write your own ticket. And that's why we're so passionate about this information. This is why we need to learn our RBCs. This is why it's life or death for us that we have this information. Because what are our other options? You know, when I was younger, I used to want to go to the NBA. When I saw I wasn't going to be 6 feet tall, I said, hey, I got to figure something else out really quick. And so I was fortunate enough to stumble my way into entrepreneurship. I actually started out in network marketing, and the business principles I learned in network marketing, the personal development, more importantly, are a lot of the things that I talk to you guys about. And so, because most of it, as I always say, is all mindset. And so there's very few things that can take me off my rocker, because I'm always going to, figure out a solution. I don't never focus on the problem, because focusing on the problem doesn't help me get to my end goal any quicker. When I first moved to Las Vegas and I was, sleeping in my car, I wasn't saying, man, why me? I was saying, you know what? Let me figure out a way so I can get out of this situation. So, I would figure out things to do, odds and ends jobs, until I was able to get on my feet. So I didn't worry about what I wasn't given. I wasn't worrying about somebody giving me something. I wasn't worrying about somebody not giving me something. If I had to pay, or I don't like to use the word pay, if I had to invest to get information to put me in a better situation, I was willing to do that. And that's, what I, salute everybody who's on these lives, because now you're investing your time every single Friday with me to learn these principles and information. And so I'm extremely excited. So today we do have a special guest we're going to bring on before we go to some Q&A. King Tommy Say out of Illinois. Is Tommy on the page? He's on the JMA page. All right, so before we bring on Tommy, just a little bit about this king. I'm not going to steal his thunder, but he was a one-on-one coaching client of ours. And the thing I appreciated about Tommy was always in a good mood, no matter what his circumstances were. And I'm going to have him share his story, because Tommy actually went through something that literally would shake anyone's life upside down. And what I mean by that is that a lot of times, most of us use our excuses on reasons why we can't do something. But Tommy took that, didn't make it an excuse, it made it the reason why he has to go out here and do something. And he turned the positive into a negative, truly making lemonade out of some sour lemons. And now on his way to building a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio. And of course, he's our one-on-one coaching client. He's on his way to getting another 150 to 200,000 in capital from the initial probably 100 and something K we've helped him get. But this didn't come overnight. Tommy's been working with us for a year, and that's the other thing that I really want a lot of people to understand. This Tommy just didn't wake up, send us an email, and fell in position tomorrow. I told him, look, you're going to have to put some work in. And he said, King, I'm up for the challenge. You tell me to go right, I'm not even going to question it. I'm going to follow you, and I'm going to be a coachable follower and follow your lead as well as King Paul lead. So I appreciate that. So King Tommy, you on with us? King Tommy.
Hey, King Will, how you doing?
Man, I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. What's going on with you?
Oh man, hey, just taking it one day at a time.
Definitely, definitely. So, for those people who don't know you, just share a little bit about who you are, where you from, and then we'll hop right into it.
Okay. Hey, my name is Tommy C, and I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I have had some experience with real estate, before back in 2005. I was, buying houses, flipping them, renting them out, and just like a lot of other people, when the market crashed in 2008, hey man, I lost everything. So I went from owning properties to renting homes, renting places. But then after that, I've always been a entrepreneur and always wanted to find a way to continue to be successful. So, and Will, I'm quite sure you pretty much know about this. Hey, me and a couple of guys, we tried to buy some shelf corporations. Hey, that didn't work out. Then, then after that, I got into the wholesale business. It was brief, and I paid a heavy price. I, tried to do a wholesale deal, wound up getting sued, had to pay about like 10 grand back, and so that was a learning experience. And the last thing, I'm quite sure you know about this too, Will. Hey, we tried to do the CPN numbers.
Oh yeah.
And hey, after that, that right there didn't work either.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad you ain't in jail.
yeah, right. But you know what though, I will say this: the one thing that I've learned from all those experiences is that how important credit is. So and it was funny because I remember I was on the internet and I'm looking, try to get a rehab loan for bad credit, and it just clicked to me like, you know what? What if I just take the time to get my credit together? Because I had spent all this other money, doing these other things, and it was a waste of time. So it was about like a 2-year run where I was just, working on the little knowledge that I knew about credit, like at least, paying everything on time, keeping my balances below 30%. And then I was able to, buy my primary residence. And then shortly after that, I started watching King J. And then, that's when I, got introduced to you.
Absolutely. Now you said something that's very interesting. You spent 2 years and probably invested quite a bit of money trying to figure out these shortcuts. And so often, and I see this a lot, people will reach out and say, hey, can you recommend me a place where I can go get money with bad credit, this, that, and the third? And I'm like, why don't you just spend the time and get your regular credit fixed? Because even if a company did give you money with bad credit, the interest rate going to be so high, you're going to spend 3 to 5 times more than if you would have just taken a little time to fix your credit. And so the thing, and I appreciate you sharing that story because, and I'm going to just be candid with everybody, we got to stop trying to figure out shortcuts to success. There is no shortcuts. We have to go through these failures. And I think it was instrumental, and I think you wouldn't be in the position you're in if you hadn't went that route. Because now you know what not to do. And you're a much more astute individual and a more of astute business owner because you went through those stages of failure that I do believe we have to go through. And I think that's why you were so coachable. Like, we'd tell you to do something, you didn't even question it. It was just like, okay. And you'd be like, you know what? I don't care if it takes me 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years. Will, I'm here because I have the time. And I tell people, like, why are we so in a rush to try to, do all these things when if we don't do it right, it'll never happen anyway. And so I always just tell people, do it right or do it twice. And so I'm just a big believer in laying that foundation. So I definitely appreciate you sharing that story. So you came over, went through, we got you some capital. How much capital did we get you on the first couple runs?
Hey, all in total, it was like over 150.
Okay, so you guys hear this, and how old was your company?
At that time, it was like a year and a half.
So company a year and a half old, we got them over 100K, And the thing about Tommy is that he was persistent. And I always say that's another quality that we need to have. Like when dealing with banks, sometimes banks don't do things that are logical. Like how we think things would be logical or common sense, that's not how business is done. So if a bank needed to say, hey, Tommy, we need you to do X, Y, and Z, again, he didn't question it. He did it. Or we say, hey, Tommy, I need you to do this. Make sure you got this in position. And he was just, again, coachable. And I always tell people, that's a quality that you need to have to be successful, whether you're trying to play sports, whether you're trying to start a business, whether you are trying to be, have a great career in whatever path you decide to go into, you have to be coachable. So you get the capital, you get the funding, and then one day you hit me with some news and you was like, Will, man, tell the people what happened, man.
Oh, man. Hey, you told us a crazy story. Hey, so I was on vacation, and we had just got the funding. So I'm on vacation. I came back, and man, I got fired. And King Will, I felt like Craig from Friday.
You got fired on your day off. Right.
Oh man, and the crazy thing is that in my 25 years as a professional, I had never been fired, and I was more hurt that I got fired than the fact that I didn't have a job. But the pivotal thing is that was a time for me to make a choice in my life. Do I stop everything, or do I keep moving forward with the plan that you had laid out for me? And I say this, Will, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. To me, that moment was when our relationship changed from a mentor to a mentee into a friendship.
Right.
Because the funny thing is that when it happened, the next day you and I had a call, and you was like, "Hey, King Tommy, what's up?" I said, "Man, Will, I got fired." You was like, "Okay, so you still gonna move forward on this this what you call deal we got? Hey, because this is the rent, and hey, this is what it is." And Will, that was what I needed. You know what I'm saying? Because and to this day, you still didn't ask me why I got fired. You know what I mean?
It was irrelevant because I knew what your end goal was.
Exactly.
And that's why I always say, like, and why I love doing, business with you, why I love speaking with you, is just the fact that, you took that situation and you didn't let that dictate what your end goal was, what you told me you wanted to accomplish. And the reason I came at you like that is, I don't know if you, and I'm pretty sure you remember, on our first call, I always ask every coaching client the same question. What is your end goal? And if you tell me, hey, this is what I want to do, then I don't care what obstacles come up, and as long as it's not life-threatening, we can get over that. And I remember telling you, I was like, Tommy, this is probably a blessing that this happened to you.
Yeah, and you know what? And the thing is that I had that opportunity to make that decision, and I told you, I said, hey, Will, I'm still going to get a job. And I said two things. We're going to move forward with this deal, and I'm going to get another job.
Right.
So 30 days to the date, I found another job making more money than what I was making previously. And then a week later, I closed on that property.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And Will, it was something that I sat back and just thought about, like, man, I could have, and it's something that you talked about earlier in your intro, is your mindset.
1,000%.
You know what I mean? It's easy to stay in your little comfortable bubble when obstacles and things happen. But that's life, though. But that's life.
Definitely.
And, you when I talked about it, it was like, it was a godsend, because now, had I not had the funds prior, to me getting fired, I would have been like scrambling, like, man, hey, I only have one option.
Right.
I only have one option is to get another job. But because I was in that financial position, I had options on the table.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. And you said something that's so important is that, I always say the definition of easy means it's also easy not to do. And it was easy for you to just say, you know what? Yeah, I just lost my job. Well, I can't do this. But one of the things that I always tell people, and I say this all the time, and this is something I tell myself all the time, we have to become comfortable being uncomfortable. And so often in life, we become comfortable being uncomfortable with things that bring us zero return on investment in our lives. So we might as well put that type of discomfort to the things that's going to give us a ROI, whether it's within our health, whether it's with our spiritual walk, whether it's with our finances and different things like that. So, so I appreciate and I go out of my way to work with anybody that shows the level of ambition that you did. And I told you, I was like, Tommy, we're gonna get you a property. You know what I'm saying? And so now you go through that process. And before we get to talking about that property in specific, and then I want to open it up for some Q&A shortly. I remember I told you, we talked about all the different strategies and principles. And initially, you couldn't find a property in your local market. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. Once I really, talked to you and going through with you as far as like strategies, and I really understood what I needed for what type of property I needed to fulfill my expectations, I didn't see anything in my market. So now, again, the importance of having a coach is that you open up my eyes to having out-of-state market. Out-of-state properties.
Right.
Because again, this whole thing is about mindset. My mindset is that I needed to have something in my backyard that I can touch, at the drop of a dime.
Right. And remember, I told you, I was like, go in, look in your area.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And then, when I didn't find anything, and the property that I ultimately got was in Cleveland, and I'm like, man, again, mindset's like, man, hey, why would I get a property out in Cleveland? But you said this, and it made sense to this day, and this is my mindset going forward, is that all that really matters are the numbers. And when you broke down the numbers of this property, I'm like, man, hey, it does make sense.
Right.
So now I have no, and the beauty also is that it was a turnkey property where, you guys had everything laid out. I'm like, okay, hey, let's go ahead and make this move.
Right. Yeah, no rehab. It already had the tenant in place, the property management. And that's the thing I always tell people, like, when we first got into investing, myself and my team, Paul, like, Vegas is not a market for us to invest in where the numbers make sense. And this is where a lot of people get trapped up in real estate, and they buy real estate just to say, hey, I own properties, but they're not making a dime. And so I learned this from King J when I was enrolled in the academy back in 2013. It's okay to have a B and C market. So we started looking outside our local market, but we put a team in place so that way we don't have to go out there and be out there every single month trying to play superhero landlord. Our team handles all of that. And again, leveraging our time now. And so we end up closing the property with Tommy, found him a slam dunk turnkey deal. And then I remember 30, 45 days after you closed and you got your first rental check, man, and you called up, I think you talked to Paul, and just tell him about that feeling, man, to be able, for the journey to doing all the things you attempted to do that didn't work, but then end up, going through a little bit of adversity, end up being able to do what you set out to accomplish, and then getting that first rental check or that mailbox check.
Yeah, hey, now that was, now going, like you said, going through everything that I went through, previously to getting that rent check, it was just like everything was worth it. All the trials and tribulations that I went through prior to have that check, it was like, that's easy money. That's making money while I'm sleeping and while I'm in Illinois.
Absolutely.
And I was talking to King Paul, and hey, he was like, hey, Tommy, how you like it? I said, man, the property is going very well. And one thing I like about Paul is he was like, now you have the cheat code to make this happen. And I'm like, Pete, that's true. It's easy now.
1,000%. And since you've gotten that property, how many more times have you even had to go out there and look and check on it?
None. Not one time.
Exactly. And so
One time.
that's why having a real estate team standing for together, everyone achieves more. My brother Beyond Win talks about this all the time, which is actually who one of our partners, where we get a lot of our Cleveland deals from, talks about this all the time. So you want to have your team in place, and those are the things we teach you in our one-on-one real estate coaching. See, the how-tos is the easy part. Most of our convos with Tommy and our other coaching clients, we're talking strategy. I mean, we spend almost a month talking about mindset, because the how-tos are easy. Me and Tommy had one call, maybe two, about the how-tos. He, learned how to break down the deals, couldn't find nothing in his area, start putting him in touch with some of the properties we had access to in the B market for him. And then it made sense, and now we're going through strategies, getting him some more capital, and he's getting ready to purchase some more rental properties. So it's really just about strategies. Again, Tommy, I appreciate you coming on. We'll take a couple questions. Anything else you want to say to your journey for the people who may kind of be like, you know what, his story, I can, definitely see myself having been in that position. Maybe you just lost your job. Maybe you don't have a job. The thing about easy funding, you don't really have to have income per se. That's between us. But there's ways and strategies to put you in position to still get the capital, and then just putting the strategies in place. And it doesn't have to be real estate. I have people who are using it for their marketing company, their stock portfolio, their barber shop, or whatever business that they have. So any other last inspirational words you want to share for the people, Tommy?
Yeah, I would say this for anybody that's hesitant about doing it. I would say you have to commit to it. Just think about where would you be if you don't do it. And that's my personal thought, is that had I sit back and think about, what if I didn't make that decision to go ahead and invest in my credit one, and then, I get with you guys, where would I be almost a year later? And, something that I talked to my cousin and one of our good friends, I talked to him the other day, and he was asking me about it, and I was kind of explaining it to him. And I told him, I said, it's easy to listen to a testimonial for somebody that you don't know. I said, but hey, y'all see me every day, so, and y'all can see the changes that I've made, and so that should be so much more of a confidence for you that this is the right way, and going back to what you guys have been talking about the last couple of times about, family, the family legacy. This is what me and my cousin and my brother, we talk about this all the time. Now that we know that this right here works, this right here works, hey, it's a game changer. It is a straight game changer for the C family name now,
Absolutely, man. And I love the success stories. I always tell people our success is tied directly to people like King Tommy's success. And when I tell them all the time, King, I want to see you win. So we'll go ahead and open it up for some Q&A. King Daniel, if we have any questions.
Yeah, how do I get in touch with you to start my journey?
You can send us a message or go to jmorrisonacademy.com/Roundtree. If my wife is on here, she could pin it or send it out in the comments for me.
What's the key to getting approved for a blanket loan?
The key is it starts one with your credit, and two, you want to have a viable deal. See, the thing I always tell people when it comes to real estate and dealing with banks and refinancing and different things like that, the deal has to make sense. See, just because you have a property doesn't mean the bank is going to lend it. Really just a strategy when we're trying to lend against a portfolio of properties. And it's a strategy, and this is why I like single family. In layman's terms, a blanket loan is kind of like the monopoly theory. You get 4 single family homes and turn it into a hotel. or you get 4 single family homes, do a blanket loan, probably pull out some capital. Now you can go and get the multifamily. And so it's really just a strategy that we use. And for anybody who wants more information on that, King Paul, I'm telling you, he's the real estate blanket loan refinance technician guru. So if you're not following him, make sure you follow Paul Ramon 1.
Creditor just dinged my credit and knocked it down from a 748 to a 611. How can I get rid of it? I started a dispute, but I'm sure I need to do more to get it off.
Repeat the beginning of the question again.
Creditor just dinged my credit from a 748 to a 611.
Okay, so it depends on what that ding was for. If it was for a late payment, you may want to possibly send in a goodwill letter. If you have good payment history with them, a lot of times you can't get it reversed if that's the only other late. That's the only thing I could think of or why they would ding your credit. I mean, I always tell people one late payment can drop a score. I've seen as much as 150 points. So, but without knowing exactly what that ding was for, it would be hard to kind of give you some advice on that.
What's the difference between business credit and personal credit interest rates?
They all the same. Banks set those rates. Some banks and some cards have promotional introductory rates. But this is the thing I tell people, and Tommy, you can attest to this. When it comes to doing business, and in this example, we'll specifically say real estate, the interest rates is irrelevant because if you have a valuable product or a vehicle to recoup your money, it's still the cheapest money you'll get access to. Would you agree to that, Tommy?
Yeah, well, I would say that. And with that said, one of the plays that you gave me is, I got funding and it was a high interest rate, but you told me, you was like, hey, Tommy, the money's not actually coming out of your pocket. And when I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, hey, this not, I took some of that funding and put it aside specifically for the payment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the lick right there.
I'm telling you, and I tell people it's a win-win because it's the cheapest money you can get access to without putting up any collateral. It's unsecured and non-discretionary. So one, the strategies we use for Tommy is he used the money he got to service the debt. So he wasn't even making the payments with his own money. We was using the money that the banks gave him to pay the bill every month. So it'll cover him for the time period till he refinance, recoup his investment, pay the money off, and now he's liquid again. So, I mean, it was a brilliant strategy, or at least I thought it was brilliant. And we was able to help him still close the deal.
Man, I needed to hear this. Thanks for the positive motivation that I'm on the right path and enjoying the journey.
Appreciate that, family.
How do I choose the right property to rent out or flip?
It all based on the numbers. It's hard to say what's the right property without knowing every single number. It can be a tedious process, but that's what it's all predicated on. I always say, and I remember telling Tommy this because he asked a similar question. I tell people, look, I'll buy a TP if the numbers make sense. So you just have to find a property that'll work. And sometimes I think Tommy personally, when he was looking in his local area, he probably went through 40 properties. So we can't just say, oh, one deal, one property, or 10. You're gonna have to make some calls. I think Tommy called 60 banks before we found a bank that wanted to do what we needed them to do. So he put the work in. So sometimes you just got to put in a little elbow grease and sweat equity.
I will, and one of the things that I always told you and Paul is that I'm following your lead. I was always taught that a good leader has to be a follower sometimes.
Right.
So, whenever y'all would, hit me with something, and like talking to the banks and stuff like that, I'm kind of hesitant to do that, but I was talking to Paul about this, matter of fact, and he was like, hey, this ain't gonna be the first or last banker that you talk to. So you might as well make that call yourself. And I'm like, hey, you know what? That makes sense.
Right. Forcing you to be uncomfortable again. Right.
My collections company said they'll send a letter for paying off my debt, but they didn't call it a deletion letter. Is there different verbiage?
Yes, very good question. So if they didn't, you want to be very explicit when you're saying, hey, I want to do a pay for deletion. Make sure it's not a settlement or a settle for half the balance letter. Now, worst case scenario, let's say you paid it, they just send you a zero paid collection account letter. Go back and dispute it. It's not the end of the world. Dispute that account. You actually have a little bit more leverage from a disputing standpoint, especially if you dispute it the proper way, to be able to get that removed off your report. So definitely hang in there.
In your opinion, is business credit better than a business loan, and why?
Good question. So business credit can come in the form of a couple different ways. I can tell you now, a lot of banks don't give business loans in a format of like a small business loan. So I would always use revolving credit. Now, I'll tell you one of the strategies we did for Tommy, and we do this only when a person is ready to make a deal. We actually did some revolving credit lines, and then we did some personal installment loans for Tommy. And the reason it made sense is because we already had some deals on the table so it could service the debt. And the thing about with the personal loans is that it doesn't impact his utilization. So in the world of finance, we call it, we hedged his money, which means he can use most of this installment money to where he doesn't have to pull as much from his revolving credit line, so it doesn't impact his utilization. But now we're going into his next phase of funding, which is business lines of credit. So, and this is why it's important to speak with us, or why we recommend joining our program, because based upon where you are currently and what your end goal is, we put that strategy in place dependent on what your end goal is. And so once Tommy told me what he was trying to do, and once we got to that pinnacle, then it was easy. And so it's really, again, it really boils down to all strategy. So I preferably like revolving credit lines.
I will, if I can just add this in there.
Definitely.
You know, it's also discipline on the person, because if you think about it, you're going from not having, you know, a certain amount of money to going to, you know, having a whole lot of money. You got to be disciplined with that, you know.
Very much so.
You know, because if you don't think about the long-term plan, you can make a move that's going to set you back from where you're trying to go, you know.
Definitely.
And that was something that I think people sometimes have to think about.
Oh, 100%. And because I can even remember, like, when you got that one loan, they deposit that right to your bank account. And so somebody gets 80,000 deposited into their account, and they probably never seen more than 8,000. It can be tempting to be like, oh man, I'm about to go get this big boy. But again, you were disciplined, and that's when I talk about why we have to start looking at credit not as a consumer, but from a business standpoint. And that's why we need to have these business principles, again, the RBCs. That's why that's so important. That's why your mindset is so important, because your mindset wasn't stuck on trying to go get the flyest sneakers, the latest belt, the newest car. Like, your goal was like, look, I'll get all that and let the rental properties pay for that. Right now, I'm going to just focus on getting my bag up so I can get these properties.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I started trying to fix my credit and got secured credit cards, and my score was going up slightly, but I've been trying to check my credit score since, and it's at 0. How so?
So it depends. One, you got to be cognizant that not all secured cards report to the credit bureaus. And then it also depends on what else is on your profile. So secured cards may not benefit everybody. And I'll give you a quick example. Let's say you have $10,000 worth of credit card debt, and your available limits are 11,000. So you're at 90+% utilization. You go get a $500 secured credit card, it did nothing for your utilization. So again, this is why it's important to understand, and I talk about what makes up a credit profile in the book Credit is King, because once you learn what makes up a profile, you'll always be able to spot why your profile is deficient and being able to fix that. Or you could reach out to us, we'll do a review for you. But yeah, that definitely could be one of the reasons why.
Can you explain making payments with the bank's money to service the debt until refinancing?
You want to touch on that, Tommy, or you want me to?
I'll touch on it just for a quick sec. The play that y'all gave me was that, for example, with the one loan that I had, is that I put 6 months of payments in our reserves. So every month, instead of that money coming out my personal account, I was using the bank money to pay the bank back. You know?
It's really that simple. So essentially, you bought that property and then used one dime of your own money, and you didn't have no job.
True.
You was like Tommy from Martin.
You
He had no damn job, man. So yeah, man. Again, it's all about strategy. Yeah, he used the money the bank gave him to make the payments. So the payments didn't even come out of his pocket. I mean, it doesn't get any more dope than that, you know.
Right.
So for easy funding, is it getting cash advances to buy properties to make the payments on the debt?
No, not at all. It's a little bit more intricate than that. I mean, we could spend a whole FICO Friday just talking about that. I would say if that's something you want to get more information on, definitely reach out to us. Every single month I do a FICO Friday mentorship call where I talk about those strategies. But in layman's terms, it's more of a liquidation strategy. We don't do cash advances. It's too expensive. So again, we use other strategies. We don't do cash advances.
What are the best companies to get a lock for a new LLC?
A line of credit. It depends. Every single bank is different. Depends on your company structure. Depends on your S.I.C. codes. It depends if we want to go stated. I mean, I can tell you 95% of banks, if your company is not cash flowing $100,000, meaning after taxes, the bank isn't going to give you much money. So again, this is why having individuals like myself and my team, King Paul, like right now, Tommy, his company is at the point where we can start doing the business lines of credit. So we have a tax strategist in place for Tommy. Again, the resources when you work one-on-one with us. So now our tax strategist was able to use his global income from his properties to where he's now cash flowing over 6 figures with all of his business endeavors that he's learned and the strategies, to where he's in position now to get access to business lines of credit. So everything is really predicated on the bank, your company, and again, this is why I say we got to learn taxes and credit. We have to. It's life or death for us. You learn taxes in the credit game, and we have to stop being cheap when it comes to these things. I mean, I was speaking with someone who is trying to structure their company, and I said, you know what, you need a tax strategist. And they said, well, you know, I normally go to so-and-so to do my taxes, one of the big box stores, but it has 2 letters in the initials. And so I said, you know what, as a business owner and as you're trying to grow and scale, you're going to have to now find a tax specialist, a professional. And so when I told them what the tax specialist normally charges to do corporate taxes, they didn't want to pay it. They went to some other company and they didn't do the taxes right. And guess what? Now he got to pay again. So this is why I always say you do it right or do it twice. And we have to stop trying to cut corners and invest in ourselves, because once you invest on a front end and lay that foundation, everything else is simple. Just like King Tommy said, he stopped investing in the things that we go on the internet and read and think is going to be our scapegoat or quick route to success, the Shelf Corps, the CPNs, and all that stuff, when he could have just took 6 months, fixed his credit, which he did, laid the foundation, went through easy funding, got some capital, used the easy funding money to pay for one-on-one coaching, so that didn't even come out of his pocket. Then through one-on-one coaching, we helped him get some more money. So then he got his real estate portfolio off the ground, which he was able to do without money out of his own pocket. Now he's about to get ready to go back, get some more capital so we can expand his portfolio. So again, we got to stop cutting corners.
And King Wolf, if I could just add this in there. I was I was talking to one of my guys the other day, and he was asking me, some pretty good questions, inquiring about everything that I had going on. And one of his questions was, would you recommend this to somebody else? And I was like, yeah. And he asked, hey, do you think you could have done all this stuff on your own? And I was like, you know what? I could have tried, but it made more sense for me to spend the money for the coaching to get all of your knowledge, your experience, your connections to get me a level up in the real estate game.
Correct.
And going back to what you said is that people got to stop being so cheap. Yeah, it's a certain amount to pay for coaching, but look at what you get.
Right.
If you keep that amount for coaching in your pocket, you're gonna be bumping your head on the wall trying to get ahead. Or would you rather spend that with somebody that has experience and the knowledge, and they can give you, a cheat code.
Right.
So.
Yeah, like my wife always tell people when they reach out to her and say, hey, how much does your husband charge? And when she tell them, they was like, oh, I can go get it for free. And she always tell them, look, free is expensive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so and it's interesting because a lot of times, if something is of value, we have to stop putting a dollar amount on it. Now, I do agree that sometimes some people fees can be just ridiculous, but when I'm out on the strip, living in Vegas, I see a lot of things. I don't see people asking what the bottle prices is when they want to go turn up and stump for the gram. And I know what their financial situation look like. You know what I'm saying? And so, but when it comes to life-changing strategies, then we want a penny pinch. I can remember when I did my one-on-one coaching call with King J before I even started working with the academy. He was like, well, if you want to talk to me right now, it's $1,500, and it was like less than a 30-minute call. I didn't even question it because I knew the value of what that call would be, and that was the best $1,500 I spent. And I put it on a credit card, and that $1,500 has turned into building 2 multi-million-dollar businesses. So I'm willing to invest in whatever I know is going to give me the proper information and a proper strategy to help me excel in whatever my journey or endeavors are. So I think you hit the nail right on the head. We got to stop being cheap when it comes to building wealth.
When you negotiate a pay for delete letter, does that have a positive impact on the original account?
Well, if it's with the collection agency, it's not with the original creditor anymore. So yes, you want to negotiate that pay for deletion. And as long as they agree to it and it comes off your credit report, it will always have a positive impact on your file. We have anything on the JMA page? Any questions? Okay.
How do you remove credit inquiries?
You gotta call us. we don't get that secret away. You can try. I see people all the time. They say, "Oh man, I'm gonna try." Now I will say we do offer a courtesy templated letter, but the letter isn't the letters that we use, but it has helped some people. But I mean, I know for a fact it's not many people in credit repair that can remove inquiries as thorough as we do, because we can remove them on all 3 bureaus, and very few companies can do that. I know none of the big box credit repair companies even touch them. They'll tell you they do, but they don't.
Now, how much is it for coaching?
You want to contact, I don't even know the pricing. I'm not even going to lie. So you want to go call the office, 844-JOIN-JMA, or go to my page, jmorrisonacademy.com/Roundtree.
How do you remove a government paid collection?
Good question. You can still dispute it, just like any other type of debt, because if any form of that information being reported inaccurately, it could be a wrong date. It could be the information wasn't filed properly with the state. They do have to remove it. So it really just depends on what type of government debt it is. I mean, case in point, student loans are government debt, but we still have been able to get quite a few student loan accounts removed off people's reports. So it really just depends.
When is the best time to start the programs?
today. Today,
Don't
right
wait.
now. Go to the website right now. Get set up. Don't wait.
How much is it for a credit review? I've been trying to clean my credit up myself. I have car loans, student debts, and credit card debt.
Definitely. Very good question. You can reach out to us. You can send me an email, will@jmorrisonacademy.com. And that's WILJAY morrisonacademy.com. And we'll get somebody, get you in touch with someone so we can do a credit assessment for you. And you know what? I'm glad you brought that question up, because a lot of times when we do attempt to repair our credit ourselves, which I'm a strong advocate for, sometimes we don't know what we're looking at. It's a foreign language. And the thing I always tell people, rebuilding your credits is not just about getting negative items off. You know, it's other things, one being utilization, that plays a major role in that. So definitely appreciate you asking that question and taking that step into, opening up your world to understanding more about credit and getting your situation fixed.
How do I regularly obtain credit line increases on credit cards?
So how do you regularly obtain? One, you have to use the credit you use. As long as you use it, pay it back, you can always go back and ask for more. I literally every 9 to 12 months call all my banks and ask for increases. Every single bank. Now, some banks cap. We always want to remember that. Some of them do cap them. And then also, too, we got to remember, if it's personal credit lines, they also do look at your DTI. So this is why it's important to use household income. So for example, let's say you make $50K, but there are other working adults in your household, and cumulatively everyone in the house, the income is $150. Always use household income, because guess what that does? That lowers your DTI, which gives you higher limits, higher approvals, all of that. So hopefully that information was helpful for you. How much time we got left, King? 7 minutes? Okay.
So for a deletion, you negotiate to pay. Do you negotiate to pay with the creditor or the collections agency?
It depends on who it's with. When you go to your credit report, you will see the company who is housing the debt, and then that's who you will reach out to.
If you paid off a debt that was a charge-off, but it's still in your credit, does it still have a negative impact on your credit report?
Good question. Yes, it does. So if those who has not been to my YouTube, I have a video on there, and it says why you never want to pay a collection account. Now, it's a play on words, meaning I don't advocate never paying them, because you still could potentially be sued, but I mean that in the sense of you want to make sure you have the proper information. So paying off a charge-off, a lot of times we'll assume that it will just come off of our credit, and that's not the case. So one, you would either have to negotiate a deletion, or two, you can dispute it and then work out a payment plan on the back end, or work through the payment plan and then come back and dispute it. So yeah, paying a collection account does not automatically mean it's going to fall off. You either have to negotiate a deletion letter or dispute it off your report even after it's been paid. And having a account that has been dormant for a while, then you pay it, it can actually drop your score, because what it will do is make that account look active and more recent. So that's why you always want to dispute paid off collection accounts even after you've paid it. So if you paid something 2 years ago and it's still on your report, go and clean that up. I'm telling you, tremendous difference in what your scores would look like.
When do you pay off items? When do you pay off items? If you can, and when do you try to remove or dispute something?
So when do you pay off items, and when do you try to dispute them? I think I'm repeating the question properly. I'm an advocate for always disputing. For one, because if they're reporting the debt amount inaccurately, they have to remove it. Now, you can always make a payment arrangement once it's come off, because now they can't put it back on your report. So whenever I'm sitting down with the client, I'm always asking, what's your credit goals? And so if their goals to say, hey, I want to improve my score, we're going to go with strategies to improve their score. And then sometimes I get clients that say, you know what, morally I owe this debt and I want to pay it. So then we figure out what that strategy is for them to pay the debt and then come back and clean it up. So I'm always an advocate for disputing first. One, because for one, collection agencies owning our debt, you don't even have the original agreement with them. So it's actually immoral that collection agencies report things on our credit report. Secondly, or thirdly, or whichever number I'm on, there's 70% of credit reports have inaccuracies on there. So I never know if it's truly mine anyway, quote unquote. So I'm always going to dispute first. And if it's past the statute of limitations for your state, they can't sue you for it. So it really just depends on what your credit goals are and what we're trying to accomplish. But again, I'm always going to say dispute first.
Do you recommend I transfer my balance to lower my interest rates?
That is a strategy that can definitely be used, but you also can call your banks and negotiate a interest rate reduction. It's another practice I normally recommend my clients do every 9 to 12 months. You can renegotiate your interest rates. How much time we got left? 2 minutes. All right, so King Tommy, any last words? We got 2 minutes, King.
Yeah, hey, Will, hey, first and foremost, again, I just want to say thank you so much for, all the words of wisdom and the things that you have done to change my life. But I just want to make sure I make one thing clear, how you said having, the funds and everything can make your life so much easier. Now, when I lost my job, you may not have asked what happened, but please believe my wife did ask. And when I told her, she was upset. But then when I showed her what was in the bank account, she was calm. So funds do help out with a happy home.
Absolutely. Hey, they say a check can solve most problems. So definitely. So King Tommy, I definitely appreciate you rocking out, man. Taking time out your busy schedule to spend this hour with me. Family, thank you. Again, make sure you go out, buy the books. Credit is King. My wife, Note to Self. If you have not been to YouTube, go and subscribe right now. Mr. Will Roundtree on YouTube. And then this video will be up on YouTube soon. Again, family, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I will see y'all next week, FICO Friday, my favorite day of the week. And I'll talk to y'all soon. All right, peace.
Peace.